Hey there, everyone. Ready to really get into it today. You guys sent over a ton of research on sleep science.
Mm.
It's pretty fascinating stuff. I mean, we spend like a third of our lives asleep, right? But do we like actually get what's going on during all that time?
Yeah, it really is kind of wild when you think about it. Like, for the longest time, sleep was a total mystery. We knew about eating and drinking and, other basic stuff, but sleep, scientists had no clue what it was really for centuries, basically.
Whoa, really? So, when did that change? When did we start figuring out like all the secrets of sleep?
Well, it wasn't that long ago, honestly. We only recently started to understand how much sleep affects our brains and our bodies. It's like a total system reset. It's how everything gets like restored and tuned up every night.
Okay, I'm listening. So, what's actually happening during this reset? What makes it so important?
Well, on like a super basic level, your body's repairing tissues, boosting your immune system, and just recharging, basically. But the really cool stuff, that's all about the brain.
Ooh. So, like, what's up with our brains when we sleep? Is it just like powering down, sort of like, recharging a battery?
Nope, not even close.
Yeah.
It's actually the opposite. Our brains are super active during sleep. It's just, different activity than when we're awake. One of the biggest things is this thing called our circadian rhythm.
Hmm. The circadian rhythm, isn't that like our internal clock or something?
Exactly. It runs on a 24-hour cycle, and it's driven by, light and darkness. It basically controls a ton of stuff in our bodies.
Okay, that explains a lot, like why it's so hard to sleep when you're jet lagged or working nights. Your rhythm is all messed up, right?
Totally. It regulates like the release of hormones like melatonin, which basically tell your body, hey, it's bedtime. So when your rhythm's off, your sleep is off too.
So, okay, how does this internal clock thing actually affect sleep? Does it like just make you feel tired?
It's a lot more than that, actually. See, when we fall asleep, our bodies go through these different stages. Each stage has like its own brainwave patterns and changes happening in our bodies.
Oh yeah, I've heard about these sleep stages, but I gotta admit, I'm always kind of fuzzy on like what they are.
Well, the main types are NREM sleep and REM sleep. NREM is divided into three stages that go from like light sleep to super deep restorative sleep.
Okay, so what's the difference between all those NREM stages and why are they like important?
Well, all those NREM stages are about restoring and repairing your body. The deeper the sleep, the slower your heart rate and breathing get, your muscles totally relax, and your temperature drops. It's basically like prime time for your body to rebuild, fix tissues, boost your immune system, and build back up your energy.
Huh, that makes sense. So deep sleep is like hitting the reset button for your whole body.
Uh-huh.
What about the brain though? Does it get a break during NREM sleep too?
While your body's busy fixing itself, your brain's working hard too. It's consolidating memories and making those connections between your neurons stronger. And in deep sleep, your brain waves get really slow and synchronized, almost like it's meditating.
Brain meditation. Whoa. So that's what helps us actually remember stuff we've learned.
Yep, pretty much. Deep sleep is when your brain moves info from short-term to long-term memory. It's like it's organizing all the stuff you experienced and learned during the day.
Oh, no wonder it's so bad to pull all-nighters before exams. You're like totally screwing over your brain's chance to lock in all that info.
You got it. Sleep is essential for, thinking clearly and all that. Without enough deep sleep, your brain basically becomes like a computer with like way too many tabs open.
Hmm.
It's slow, makes mistakes, and just can't function properly.
Right, that makes sense.
Mm.
So we've got NREM sleep, but you mentioned REM sleep too, right? Isn't that when things get a little
Well,
weird?
yeah, REM sleep. That's when we get into all those crazy dreams, and that's where honestly the brain gets a little harder to figure out.
That's what I'm really curious about. Dreams have always been so like fascinating and bizarre to me. Like, why do we have all these crazy stories unfolding in our heads when we're asleep? For so long, it just seemed totally random. What does science say about dreams? Is there like a reason behind all the weirdness?
It's the big question, isn't it? For ages, dreams were just like superstition and mystery. But now, with, all the fancy brain imaging stuff, we're finally starting to peek into what happens when we dream. And get this, it turns out dreams are way more than just random images flashing by. They're actually really important for processing emotions, remembering stuff, and even coming up with creative ideas.
Whoa, hold up. So my brain isn't just like taking a random vacation when I'm dreaming. There's actually a purpose to those strange scenarios.
Looks like it. Remember how we were talking about different sleep stages? Well, dreams happen mainly during REM sleep, and during that stage, certain parts of the brain get super active.
This is where it gets really cool. So what parts of the brain are we talking about? Like, is my dreaming brain using different parts than my, you know, awake brain?
Well, during REM sleep, a bunch of key areas become like really active. There's the visuospatial parts at the back of your brain, the ones that handle like seeing stuff. That's why dreams are often so visually intense.
Yeah, that tracks. My dreams are definitely full of, like, visual fireworks sometimes. What else is going on up there?
Then you've got your motor cortex, which is all about like movement. That's probably why we often feel like we're doing stuff in our dreams, even though we're actually totally still.
That's why I can never seem to run away from those dream monsters. I'm,
Yeah.
like, paralyzed in real life.
Bingo. It's basically a safety feature so we don't act out our dreams. But the really important part here is the hippocampus. That's that memory center we talked
Yeah.
about. It goes into overdrive during REM sleep,
Yeah.
which tells us that dreams are deeply involved in like how we store memories.
Okay, so, like, while I'm dreaming about, I don't know, flying through a giant bowl of spaghetti, my brain's actually organizing and storing memories from the day.
Well, it's not quite that straightforward, but you're on the right track. During REM, your brain is integrating new experiences with, the stuff you already remember. It's making connections, finding patterns, and basically turning all your experiences into a story.
All right, so that's starting to make more sense. But what about those really intense emotional dreams? Why do we have those?
Now that's where it gets fascinating. See, the amygdala, which is like the brain's emotion center, is super active during REM. And research suggests that dreams might actually help us deal with and regulate our emotions.
Whoa, so dreams are like a therapy session for the brain every night.
It's a pretty compelling idea. Think about it. During the day, we're constantly like holding back emotions, putting on a brave face, and dealing with all the craziness of life. But when we're in REM sleep, our guard is down, and our brains can finally process all those emotions safely.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I've definitely woken up feeling like lighter and less stressed after a night of crazy vivid dreams. Like my brain did some emotional spring cleaning while I was asleep.
Exactly. And it's not just about dealing with the bad stuff, it's also about, boosting those good emotions and making those happy memories stick.
So you're telling me dreams can actually make us happier? I'm sold. But what about the creative side of dreams? I've heard all those stories about artists and scientists getting their best ideas from dreams. Is there any truth to that?
Absolutely. Remember we were talking about how the brain makes unexpected connections during REM sleep? Well, that's where some truly groundbreaking ideas can come from. There's that famous story about Dmitri Mendeleev, the guy who created the periodic table of elements. He supposedly dreamt about all the elements like suddenly arranging themselves in a perfect order, and when he woke up, boom, he knew exactly how to organize them.
No way. That's incredible. So, like, our dreams can literally change the world. Okay, so if dreams are so powerful, can we, like, control them? Is there a way to tap into all that creative potential?
That's where lucid dreaming comes in. It's this amazing ability to like know you're dreaming while you're dreaming. And some people, with practice, can actually learn to direct and control their dreams.
Hold up. You're telling me it's possible to, like, become the director of your own dreams? That's some serious mind-bending stuff.
It really is. And it's not just about, having fun and exploring these fantastical worlds in your head. Lucid dreaming can actually be used for like therapy too. For example, people with phobias can use it to face their fears in a safe space, or athletes can use it to like mentally practice their skills.
All right, my mind is officially blown. It's like we all have this untapped superpower in our heads. But let's talk about the less fun side of things. What about nightmares? Why do our brains cook up those terrifying scenarios?
That's something scientists are still figuring out, honestly. But some research suggests that nightmares might be our brain's way of like processing and practicing for dangerous situations, but in a safe environment. It's almost like a virtual reality simulation for, scary stuff.
So you're saying my brain is getting me ready for the zombie apocalypse by throwing me into a nightmare full of brain-eating zombies.
Well, maybe not literally, but the idea is that nightmares could help us develop ways to cope with real life challenges.
I guess I can see the logic there. But what about those nightmares that keep coming back? Why do some themes just, like, keep popping up in our dreams?
That often means there's something in our waking lives that we haven't really dealt with. Could be a past trauma, current stress, or even just, a worry that keeps nagging at us.
So recurring nightmares are like those annoying notifications on our phones. reminding us we need to take care of something.
Exactly. They're a message from our subconscious that something needs attention. And until we deal with it, those nightmares might keep coming back.
Okay, that's a little creepy, but also kind of empowering, you know? It means we can actually change our dreams by changing our waking lives.
Absolutely. Dreams are a window into our subconscious, and if we pay attention to what they're telling us, we can learn a lot about ourselves and how we're feeling.
Wow, this has been, like, seriously eye-opening. I'm starting to see sleep and dreams in a whole new light. But before we get too lost in the world of dreams, I think it's time to face a less pleasant reality. Sleep disorders.
Right. They're incredibly common, and they can really mess with our quality of life. Everything from insomnia, where you just can't fall asleep or stay asleep, to narcolepsy, which makes you super sleepy during the day and can even cause you to, like, suddenly fall asleep.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely had those nights where I'm just tossing and turning, staring at the clock, unable to sleep. It's the worst. What happens if you, like, constantly have trouble sleeping?
Well, it's more than just feeling tired. Chronic insomnia can lead to some pretty serious health problems.
Yeah.
Things like heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and even depression.
Okay, that's all the motivation I need to start taking my sleep seriously.
What about those weirder sleep disorders, like sleepwalking or sleep paralysis? Are those as common as insomnia?
They're not as common, but they can be super disruptive. Sleepwalking or somnambulism is when you get up and walk around while you're totally asleep, and usually you don't even remember doing it.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that. It's like your body's on autopilot, but your mind is still snoozing.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it can actually be pretty dangerous, especially if the person, wanders outside or does something risky.
Yikes. So not exactly like those romantic sleepwalking scenes you see in movies.
Definitely not. And then there's sleep paralysis, which is like really bizarre. You're totally aware of what's going on around you, but you can't move or speak.
Oh, I've heard of that. It sounds terrifying.
It can be. It's like you're trapped in your own body, and often people have hallucinations and feel super scared. Some researchers even think that, like, alien abduction stories might actually be caused by sleep paralysis. Wait, seriously? You're telling me those late-night alien encounters might just be sleep paralysis gone wrong?
It's a pretty interesting theory. Sleep paralysis usually happens when you're transitioning between sleeping and waking up, and it can trigger these intense feelings of like fear and helplessness. People report feeling like they're being held down, suffocated, or even, experimented on. Combine that with hallucinations and like a hazy memory of the whole thing, and it's easy to see how someone might think something otherworldly was going on.
Okay, that's both creepy and super interesting. So our brains can create these, like, elaborate and terrifying scenarios even when we're technically still asleep.
It really shows how powerful the human brain is. It can be incredibly creative, but it can also create these really scary, really real experiences. But the good news is that most sleep disorders can be treated. So if you're having, constant problems with sleep, don't hesitate to talk to a doctor or
It's
specialist.
good to know. It's important to remember that you don't have to just suffer through it. There's help out there, and we all deserve to get a good night's sleep.
Absolutely. And speaking of getting a good night's sleep, I think we've talked enough about the problems for today. Let's shift gears and talk about some practical things we can do to actually improve our sleep.
Yes, please. After learning about all the amazing stuff our brains and bodies do when we sleep, and all the downsides of not getting enough, I am definitely ready to level up my sleep game.
That's the spirit. And luckily, there are a lot of things we can do to improve our sleep quality.
All right, I'm all ears. Let's hear those sleep strategies.
So we talked a bit about sleep hygiene before, right?
Yeah,
But it's worth diving in a little deeper.
Yeah, I'm game.
It's not just about like how long you're in bed, but it's about the quality of that time.
Right, makes sense.
Think of it like optimizing your sleep environment and all your little habits to get the best sleep possible.
Okay, I'm ready for a sleep makeover. Where do we start?
Well, the biggest thing is consistency. Try to like stick to a regular sleep schedule,
Even on weekends.
especially on weekends.
Right.
It helps your body get into a good rhythm, that natural sleep-wake cycle.
Yeah, I know. I always feel kind of messed up on Monday if I sleep in all weekend.
Exactly, because your body wants that routine. And it's not just about when you sleep, but how you like prepare for sleep.
Yeah.
Creating a little bedtime routine, something relaxing, can really signal to your brain that it's time to wind down.
Ooh, yeah, like a warm bath, a good book,
Uh-huh.
maybe some calming music. Definitely no phones allowed.
Exactly. Avoid screens for like at least an hour before bed. That blue light they give off is a total sleep killer.
Totally.
Do stuff that helps you relax, reading, music, even meditation, if you're into that.
Okay, so we've got our sleep sanctuary, and we're sticking to a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
What else can we do to, like, optimize our sleep environment?
Temperature is a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Your bedroom should be cool, like ideally around 65 degrees.
Ah, okay.
Your body temperature naturally goes down when you fall asleep, so a cooler room can help with that.
That actually makes a lot of sense. I do tend to sleep better when it's, like, nice and cool.
And of course, dark and quiet is key.
Right.
Blackout curtains are great if you need them. And maybe a white noise machine if there's a lot of outside noise.
Okay, I'm writing all this down, creating the perfect sleep haven. What about things like diet and exercise? Do those affect how well we sleep?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Regular exercise can really improve your sleep quality, but don't do anything too intense right before bed.
Got it.
And with food, really pay attention to what you're eating and drinking, especially in the hours before bed.
So no more late-night pizza binges.
Probably a good idea. Big meals right before bed can mess with your sleep. And definitely cut back on caffeine and alcohol, especially in the evening.
No after-dinner coffee, then.
Better to avoid it. Caffeine stays in your system for hours, so it can make it hard to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Right.
And alcohol, while it might make you feel sleepy at first, actually messes with your sleep patterns later in the night. You end up getting less restful sleep.
Ugh. Okay. No more nightcaps for me.
Probably a wise choice.
I'm starting to see how, like, all these different lifestyle choices really add up. It's not just about, changing one thing. It's about making changes across the board to improve your sleep.
Exactly. It's all connected. Sleep isn't just about what happens in your bedroom. It's about, like, your whole lifestyle.
Right. It's about making conscious choices that support good sleep.
Yep. And those choices end up benefiting your overall health and well-being.
So it's time to retire the whole "I'll sleep when I'm dead" attitude, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Embrace sleep as, like, essential fuel for a good life.
Exactly.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to prioritize my sleep. Any last bits of wisdom before we wrap up this part of our sleep deep dive?
Just remember, good sleep is an investment, not a luxury. You're investing in your health, your happiness, your relationships, even your success.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So tonight, make the choice to give yourself a good night's sleep. Trust me, your brain and body will thank you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Sleep well, everyone. And hey, if you're struggling with, constant sleep problems, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are lots of effective treatments out there.
Sweet dreams. I really like how you frame that, thinking of sleep as an investment instead of something you just, like, squeeze in when you can.
Right.
It's so clear how important it is for, well, basically everything, our minds, our bodies. But for those of us who, really struggle to get a good night's sleep, what can we actually do? Like, what are some concrete steps to make that investment?
Well, we talked about all that sleep hygiene stuff, right?
Right.
Setting up the right environment, building those good habits. But there's this really powerful tool that people often don't think about. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, or CBTI.
CBTI, I think I've heard of that. But I always thought therapy was for, like, bigger issues, not just for sleep problems. Yeah, a lot of people think that. But CBTI is actually, it's designed specifically for insomnia. It's all about changing the thoughts and behaviors that keep you from sleeping well.
Oh, interesting. So it's not just about, like, learning to relax. It's about getting to the root of what's causing the insomnia.
Exactly. It helps you figure out what those negative thoughts and behaviors are and how to change them. Like, a lot of people with insomnia start to get anxious about going to bed because they associate it with, the struggle of not being able to sleep.
Tell me about it. Sometimes just the pressure to fall asleep makes it even harder.
Exactly. And that's where CBTI can help. It can help you break those negative associations and build those good sleep habits we were talking about, like sticking to a consistent sleep schedule, having that relaxing bedtime routine.
It seems like that would be a lot more, proactive than just taking sleeping pills.
Oh, for sure. And the research really backs that up. CBTI is way more effective than medication for treating insomnia over the long term. Sleeping pills might give you some temporary relief, but they don't actually solve the underlying problems.
So it's about finding a solution that actually lasts, not just masking the symptoms.
Exactly. It gives you the power to take control of your sleep instead of letting insomnia control you.
I love that. This is all super helpful information. But it makes me think about the bigger picture too, like what about all the things in our culture that contribute to this whole sleep deprivation problem? Things like crazy work hours, always being connected, and this pressure to be productive all the time.
That's a really important point. We can't really talk about sleep without talking about, the society we live in. We're surrounded by this go, go, go mentality where being busy is seen as a good thing, and sleep is often seen as like a waste of time.
It's like a badge of honor to say you only got 4 hours of sleep last night. Like
Yeah.
it means you're super dedicated or something.
Yeah, and that's a really harmful way of thinking. It feeds into this idea that sleep is a luxury, not a basic human need.
Totally. So how do we change that? How do
Yeah.
we create a culture that actually values and prioritizes sleep?
Well, it's going to take a lot of different efforts. For one thing, we need to raise awareness, help people understand the science of sleep, and bust all those myths about sleep deprivation.
Like we need to make sleep cool again.
Exactly. And we need to start young, We need to rethink those early school start times, especially for teenagers. Their bodies naturally want to sleep in later, but they're forced to wake up super early for school.
Yeah, that always seemed kind of crazy to me. I remember struggling so hard to stay awake in those early morning classes in high school.
And it's not just about grades. Starting school so early has been linked to all sorts of problems for teens. Obesity, depression, even higher risks of car accidents.
Wow, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's clear we need to make some big changes on a societal level. But what about like in our own workplaces? How can we push for a more sleep-friendly environment at work?
There's a lot companies can do, actually. Offer flexible work hours, encourage employees to take breaks, maybe even have, like, napping pods.
Napping pods. That
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
They're becoming more and more common in, forward-thinking companies.
Makes sense.
And for good reason, even a short nap can do wonders for your energy, productivity, and just overall well-being.
I definitely see that. I'm starting to imagine a future where sleep isn't just valued, but it's actually supported,
Mm.
where work, school, even our own homes are designed to help us get the best sleep possible.
I love that vision. And it's not as far-fetched as it might seem. Technology can play a big role in creating a more sleep-friendly world.
Oh, really? How so?
Think about smart homes that automatically adjust the lighting and temperature to help you sleep better,
Mhm.
or wearable devices that track your sleep and give you personalized tips.
It's like having a personal sleep coach right on your wrist.
Exactly.
Mm.
And as the whole field of sleep tech keeps growing, we have the potential to totally revolutionize the way we sleep and the way we live.
Wow. This whole conversation has been incredibly inspiring. It's amazing how much we've learned about sleep and how much potential there is to, improve our sleep in our lives.
I agree. It's a fascinating field, and we're really just getting started.
Well, I'm definitely going to be sleeping better tonight knowing all of this.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing your expertise and for, reminding us that good sleep isn't some kind of luxury. It's truly essential for a happy, healthy, and fulfilling life.
It's been my pleasure. Sleep well.
Sleep well, everyone. And hey, remember to give yourself the gift of a good night's sleep tonight. You deserve it.